Well, Helldivers, you have proven once again that you can rally around a seemingly impossible task and claim victory. All in the name of democracy. The plunging review score, the refund requests, having the game removed from 177 countries. Well, we got PlayStation to reverse course on what I said from the beginning was a monumentally stupid decision. Now, time will tell if the review score on Steam can recover and, how is PlayStation going to handle future live service games. But for now, Helldivers can rest easy. They won another battle, and they can live to fight another day. And I know not everybody's going to agree on this. I express my thoughts in an upload. Be sure to go check that out. Much of that video was recorded before they reverse course, so we put a little update at the beginning. It's like a minute and a half. But I wanted people to see my breakdown of how it happened, when it started, how it felt to Sony, and really sort of my argumentation about what should happen. Because I think it's good to see that, like, the day before they did what they did, I was essentially calling on them to do that. So if you want to check out that video, be sure to check that out. Make sure you kind of dogpile on those premieres every morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. It really helps me out. And then it brings you over to the live stream, so not much has changed. So you can go check out my thoughts on the matter. Now it's time to hear your thoughts. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. A wild and crazy turn of events. I honestly thought, I was like, Sony's going to dig in their heels. They're going to get like that corporate-sized ego about this. And they reverse course. I was not expecting that. I honestly thought, nah, they're going to dig in. They want everybody's data. They want they want everybody on PSN so that they can kind of track everything. I do think this probably adds some credence to some of the predictions about like they're going to try to do their own launcher. Although they've burned a lot of goodwill with the PC audience, I'll tell you that much. I need to thank Carl FAQ with 18 months as a member. Thank you so much. And Joker Quinn, Han shot first, and so did you. Thank you so much. We had a great time the other night. If you guys weren't there, we played a rage game, and this week's goal is, if you guys can hit 300 members on the week, I have to do, there's like a VR Just Dance game. So help us hit that goal, 300 members this week. And as a reminder, I will be out of town next week, okay? I will be out of town next week. So streams will resume the following week just in time for Hellblade. I thought the middle of May was probably one of the safest times to take a trip because everything starts to gear up end of May. And so thank you guys so much. Really, we just need to average 60 members a day this week. You guys will hit the goal, and that'll be really fun on Friday night to stream with Madam and then play a goofy game. So let's get the first 100 likes. You guys crushed it on that first video. You guys absolutely threw yourselves behind it. And hopefully people understand, why we did what we did. It was like, this is such a good video. I said, I don't want to throw this video away simply because they changed their mind. And so I hope people watch the first minute and a half and understand and still support the video. Rich Rod with a $5 super chat tip says, I agree Sony messed up, but if you don't read, that's on you. And if someone has tickety but they have the nerve to be worried about PSN, then that's a joke. Thanks so much, Rich Rod, with a $5 super chat tip. Here's where I feel like everybody was passing each other in the night on this. Like, I don't feel like everybody was fully understanding the positions, okay? Because I think what happens is the most extreme position becomes the position that everybody fixates on, and then they think, well, that's what everybody thinks, that's what everybody, feels on the matter, okay? There were likely people on PC that get really, I don't know what to call it other than like super anti anything but Steam. And it's sort of tribalistic, okay? That's not the lion's share of what happened here. That's not the lion's share of what caused the anger. Yo, Mike on a mic gifts a member, takes us to 2. And True Witty does a $2 super chat and says, Ghost Legends will still require, yeah, and that's not a problem. It's only required for Legends, which is multiplayer, and it will be required from day one. So you'll go to play Legends, and it'll tell you, hey, in order to do this, you have to connect with a PSN, as long as it's there from day one. See, I think people just keep missing that point, right? Like, It wasn't there. This game had a meteoric rise. It went viral. There were probably plenty of people who are not super familiar with Steam or policies on Steam or how any of this works, and they just went and got the game. And they're like, oh, I want to play with my buddies, okay? Because if you're on Steam and you don't have a habit of playing games like this that make you connect with another account, it's very easy to think, I don't need to do that. It's also easy to think, maybe companies are just always trying to get our information, and since it said it was required and then it wasn't required, maybe it's just one of those optional things. It's like when you go to a website and it's like, hey, do you want to be a part of our newsletter? And it pops up and it feels like they try to make it look like you have to give them your email address to access the website, and you don't. You can just close out of the window. We've really been conditioned to just ignore stuff like this. We accept EULAs, user end license agreements, and terms of service. We do this everywhere we go, and no one reads anything. You've been conditioned to ignore all of this stuff, and there were no warnings in the game. The CEO of Arrowhead fully accepted responsibility, and he was like, we did not really make people aware about this as much as we should have, and I think it's because it wasn't a front burner issue. They were dealing with server Detonator. Thank you so much for the gifted member. They were dealing with server issues, server capacity issues. They were dealing with crashes and bugs to the point that the community was like, hey, why don't you take a break from giving us war bonds and just focus on fixing the game? That's what they were focused on. Sadly, because of that, in the fog of war, they didn't inform the consumer that, look, man, we're going to require you to do this eventually. So it wasn't a malicious thing. They weren't trying to take advantage of people. It was a mistake. I also got some little inside baseball on how this worked. Basically, when they removed the requirement to sign into PSN, it opened up the game to countries that would have ordinarily not been able to buy it. That's why all of a sudden they updated the restricted country thing. And it was like, oh, if you're going to re-enable this, then these countries can't get the game. So that's why there were people that were able to buy the game that are like, I'm not going to be able to play. So this resolves that problem, obviously. You don't have to restrict those countries any longer. They can buy and play the game. Bush and Ryu Cat with a $5 super chat tip says, morning, Reforge. I love your takes. I got excited that Sony listened in reverse pulling Helldivers 2 from regions who had no PSN available. Why this response? They were going to murder the game on PC. I mean, that's essentially what was going to happen. Like, your score can't go that low. It just can't. Like, and the future of the game on PC was in jeopardy. It was in jeopardy. It was like, what do you think anybody's going to buy a game when they see a 16%, when they see a 41% overall? Like, that just wasn't going to work. It was like, you can't have a game go viral in the way that it went viral and then poke that community in the eyeball and think it's going to go over very well. It was like, you literally have one of the most ravenous communities I've ever seen throw themselves around, you guys like the shirt? It conveniently showed up. This was back ordered. I ordered this from PlayStation like a month ago, and I kept getting emails back ordered, and it showed up on, I think, Friday. So I was like, well, I know what I'm wearing Monday. Eugene says, those unsupported countries just got effed. For a very long time now, they have been able to just sign up for PSN using another country as their location. Now Steam simply won't let them buy the games. So instead of just buying the game, setting up an account base in the closed supported area, they're just totally left out. I mean, you're basically saying the rules are going to be enforced. Like, who cares about that? And if that's the case going forward, they're only going to miss out on PlayStation Live service games. They're not going to miss out on all PlayStation games. Like, they'll be able to buy Ghost of Tsushima. They just won't be able to play Legends. Well, I mean, I guess that's up to Steam. Like, how do you want to handle that? Because that is a bit of a hybrid. Like, do they want to sell Ghost of Tsushima in the regions that can't get a PSN? If that was the issue in those countries, then it's on the distributor for ensuring the availability proper for how the game is set up. Who was the distributor? Well, and see, that's where it gets confusing. Basically, according to the CEO, it falls to the publisher how a game is sold falls on the publisher. So it was basically on PlayStation and Steam to properly handle it being sold in countries where you couldn't set up a PSN. But again, this is what I was told. A little insider information was once they removed that requirement to use a third party, it opened up the game to all regions, which was a mistake that nobody really knew had happened. AOZ says, the one thing I didn't like was how Arrowhead conducted themselves. They threw Sony under the bus. You don't have to join the mob and assault your publisher saying you also wish linking was opt. Well, here's the thing. I don't have a strong opinion on that other than this. I think my initial opinion, which I don't know if I'll change my opinion about this because I haven't really thought about it. So this isn't really well formed. I always lean towards the player when something like this happens where the player or the consumer has not been properly informed. Now, you can say all you want that it's on the storefront. If the average consumer doesn't know to scroll down and look for that warning, Steam didn't warn them when they went to check out, hey, you're gonna need a PSN. It didn't warn them once they were in the game. If the CEO of Arrowhead specifically stated, we did not properly inform people about this. Like, that's ownership, okay? Once you take that ownership, I don't think we can take that away from him and say, no, the consumer was properly informed. So I tend to side with the consumer, and the developer's job is not at all to kiss the ring of the publisher. If the publisher does something that jeopardizes the game, look at what the publisher of Outriders did, right? They basically had everybody procuring pre-orders and and all everybody's really excited, and then they signed a deal to put the game on Game Pass, and people started canceling their pre-orders. Well, that's really unfair to the developer who makes money off of sales, who makes bonuses off of quantity of sales, to suddenly come behind the developer and do that. I actually kind of respect a developer standing their ground and being like, hey, we don't think this is the right call because it's bad for the players. Your live service game lives and dies on the players. If the developer doesn't take up for the players, and if the players didn't take up for themselves, we'd be having a very different conversation. You just have people that couldn't play the game. You'd have a shrinking player base on PC. You'd have I guess the score in my example wouldn't go down, I guess, if the players didn't speak up for themselves. But the fact that the players spoke up for themselves and dropped the game's score, I actually respect the fact that the players made the choice impossible for PlayStation. It's like, you've got to reverse course on this. We hold the keys to the castle, not you. Because if we all throw our hands up in the air and say, we're going to plummet your review score, your public perception is going to go into the toilet, that's not something you can just take on the chin for a live service game. Because their hope and their anticipation, I'm sure, was that they would get more growth and more people to come in, and you're not going to get that when you have a terrible score. Please read the tweet better. No 30th update doesn't equal no PSN link. 177 countries were delisted, 3.5 million copies sold. Do not jump on the D yet. Nobody's jumping on a D, but that's, disgusting projection, which I guess is probably the way you view the world. They literally have walked it back, homie. They say it will not be required. That's what that announcement says. You're telling me to reread the tweet. I think you need to reread the tweet, homie. It quite literally says it will not be required. They're not going to... If you honestly think they're still going to do it, it says the May 6 update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players beginning May 30th, will not be moving forward. It doesn't get any plainer than that, homie. The verbiage there is so plain. It's not happening. They're not doing it. The publisher had a requirement, the developer failed to deliver on the requirement. Then later they went to say, we wish the linking was optional in the first place. Go ahead, pull it up. Yeah, it's right here. I mean, you seem to struggle with reading comprehension, not me. It's right there. It's as crystal clear as it gets. I don't know how else to read that. That clearly states that it's not happening. They're not going to force it. Ston Spire with a gifted member, and he goes to Corey. Thank you so much, Ston Spire. I'll be honest with you. I don't care. PlayStation's not like a girl that was taken to a dance and then got insulted about her dress. They're a freaking multi-million-dollar publisher. I don't give a frick if the developers were maybe not perfect in their handling of this. It was the right call. You listen to me, D Dizzle with 32 months. Thank you. Stone Spire sets up a 20 bomb dunker, 5 out of 25. We'll see if any of the big boys are here to drop the 20 bomb on chat. Listen to me. PlayStation should have backed the developer and backed the player by saying, this is a unique circumstance. You disabled it because it was an unforeseen meteoric game. And in this circumstance, we're going to say, no, we're not going to require this for the sake of the developer, for the sake of the game, and for the sake of the community. PlayStation didn't do that. They don't deserve to be protected from criticism because of the uniqueness of the situation. If they wouldn't have removed the restriction in those early days, it would have gone terribly wrong. They walked it back. Yeah, after basically telling them, push out this update, you need to turn on PSN linking, and it was a disaster. I guarantee you, from the way the CMs have talked about this, that Arrowhead was pushing against this internally and saying, we can't do this now. It's been 3 months. The one person literally said, yeah, this is going about exactly as how I expected it to go. PlayStation, yeah, walked it back after it blew up in their face. They could have walked it back before that. They could have immediately said, wait, this is going to be a disaster. It gets unlisted in countries. You suffer 2 days of downvotes, and then you walk it back. You don't listen. We have said this before. I am never going to throw a parade for somebody cleaning up the milk that they spilled. Good job, PlayStation. You know, I mean, it took 72 hours to realize this was a boneheaded decision. Trust me, the Arrowhead CEO was screaming in our meetings. There's nobody at that company that thought, well, this is going to go swimmingly. This will be totally fine. They all knew it was going to be a disaster, and PlayStation could have said, you know what? These are unique circumstances. The game exploded well beyond our expectations. You disabled this thing in the early days to do right by the consumer so they could all get in and play. It inadvertently then made the game sold in countries where they shouldn't have been able to buy it. A handful of mistakes were made here. So we're going to do right by you. We're going to do right by the consumer, and we're not going to force this. Who spilled the milk? Arrowhead spilled the milk, and they more than likely communicated to PlayStation, if we push this forward, it's going to be a significant problem because it's been disabled for 3 months. Like, the idea, like, this is what I find bewildering. The idea that, like, PlayStation has no issue here. PlayStation didn't do anything wrong. They didn't assess the situation. They didn't assess the downfall of this or the backlash from this. They did no wrong. The fact that people believe that, to me, is staggeringly ignorant. To think that they, the publisher, were not in the position of power to properly assess the situation and say, maybe we shouldn't do this, as evidenced by the fact that they walked it back. The fact that they walked it back proves me right, that PlayStation had the power to do it and didn't. That's their failure. The reaction 3 months ago was the right decision. The reaction to disable it, that was the right decision. What the wrong decision was to do was just go forward with it. I told you guys on Friday, I said, this isn't going to go well. I said, there's no way. This is a disaster. You can't do something like this. You can't have a game that is this popular and be like, well, we're just going to do this 3 months later. It'll be fine, right? No one's going to care. Oh, my word. The company, not to mention, the community is so organized. The community is so organized. And I tell you who deserves applause. I know y'all hate it. You ponies hate it because you don't like the PC guys. You don't like the fact that they make up the majority of the Helldivers player base. You don't like the fact that they stood their ground and won as you defended Sony through this, which I thought was embarrassing. Why are you defending Sony? It was a brain-dead decision from moment one. Well, it's okay if other people do it, but it's not okay when PlayStation does it. No, that was never the argument. The argument from the very beginning was you can't have something like this turned off for 3 months and then just randomly turn it on. There's levels of, like, I would even think there might be ethics involved here. Like, well, you were properly informed. Apparently, they weren't properly informed. They sold the dadgum thing in regions where you couldn't even make a PSN. Sony learned a valuable lesson. Don't mess with PC players. They certainly did. I told you guys on Friday, I said the Steam user base is crazy, bro. They're nuts. Do you guys remember what happened with Returnal? I was so angry, okay? I was actually angry at the Steam guys, okay? I was like, can you guys relax for half of a second? So Returnal installed Epic Online Services so that you could play Returnal co-op. And everybody lost their dadgum minds and were like, it ghost installs Epic Game Store. And it's like, no, it doesn't. So Returnal, like day one, had like a terrible score. And I was like, why does it have a terrible score? All the ports are saying that it's pretty good. And that's what it was. Now it recovered because eventually everybody calms down and realized like, oh, it doesn't install the Epic Game Store. It's just for co-op. But that killed their day one momentum. It really did. When you go to the Steam store and you see a brand new port getting bad scores and you're told it's ghost installing the Epic Game Store, there's people that probably never even went back and gave it a second thought. Who is saying Sony has no fault in this? I was reading chat and I saw some people saying that. I saw people indicating it. My producer doesn't agree with me on this. He doesn't. He doesn't agree with my take on this. He didn't agree with me over the weekend. He didn't agree with me on Friday. We don't see eye to eye on this. I was like, from moment one, I said, this is a stupid decision. I don't know what they're thinking. It's going to blow up right in their face. And it did. For the first time, instead of telling the audience, I told you so, I get to tell PlayStation, I told you so. I knew. I was like, there is absolutely no way this goes off and doesn't turn into a nuclear bomb. It's not, there's no way. There's absolutely no way they get through this unscathed. And it was so bad that they walked it back. I think that's impressive. I think that's impressive. I think this shows people that power to the player, man. The player has power. I've always said, what have I always told you guys? One of the greatest representations of what the community thinks about a game is the Steam user score. I've always said that. And the audience made it very clear. No way. We're not cool with this. We will take your game and drag it to the bottom of the ocean if you do this. Joker Quinn with a gift, member. Thank you so much. Why wasn't this a nuclear bomb when they did it to Minecraft? I would have to know the surrounding circumstances of when they did it to Minecraft. Like, I don't know. I don't know the surrounding circumstances of when they did it to Minecraft. I know virtually every other game that does this. I know that virtually every other game that does this, it's like it's in there day one. Like when you booted up, Sea of Thieves and it told you that on PlayStation. Well, it was there day one. That's the point. I think everybody keeps saying other companies do it, and my pushback has always been, yes, they don't wait 3 months after virality and meteoric growth to do it. That's the difference here. I give PlayStation credit, says Detective Seeds. They heard and listened, and then they acted. We have heard someone say they hear and they're listening, but don't act. Gotta give them credit. I don't give them credit. I don't. I award PlayStation no points in this situation. None. They get no points. Do you want to know why? They could have done this last week. They could have done this when the developer advocated for the player and said, we should not do this. That's when they should have done it. That's when they should have listened. Listen, they didn't listen and change this because they're the good guy. They did it because it was a threat to money. Like, who are we kidding? They only did this because it was a threat to money. That's it. That's the only reason they did it. They didn't do it. It's not good guy PlayStation. It's, well, we're going to lose money on this, so reverse it. It's like, well, I guess you guys were right. I guess Arrowhead was right. We probably shouldn't have done that, got our pants pulled down and spanked right in front of the public. Like, okay, turn, tuck, tail, and run. There's no good guy PlayStation here. I don't agree. Would you concede that half of the fear of signing up for PSN accounts, as opposed to other services like EA and Ubisoft, was they were afraid of PSN updating this to PS Plus with a monthly sub? Oh, no. I don't think anybody was worried they were going to get, like, their credit card, like, mysteriously charged or something like that. There's a variety. Okay, just to be clear, there's a variety of responses from the PC user base. All right, there are PC people that will they don't want to open another launcher. They don't want to sign up for anything. Okay, but then there were people that were just like, what the frick? Like, you didn't require this, now you're requiring it. They felt like it was a bait and switch. Like, there's a whole spectrum of responses. I don't think every single person was like, oh, I absolutely refuse to create a PSN. I don't like PlayStation. Or, oh, I absolutely refuse to open up another launcher. Like, there are certainly people that are going to take that track, right? There are people that are going to be on that wavelength, but not everybody was. A 10 spot from Rich Rod. If Sony requires all future games to have PSN, will PC gamers ever buy it? PC gamers are entitled to want things on their terms. It's annoying, honestly, and this is why day and date should be axed. I mean, I don't think day and date's happening anytime soon. If it does, I think PlayStation's going to have their own launcher for day and date so that they don't lose money to Steam. Karen with 4 months says, say it in all caps, money talks, we are numbers. That's right. Like, it's not reversed yet. That language is too vague. David, I'm sorry. I don't know why you keep banging on that drum. You've posted that like 4 times. To think that their Twitter post is vague, I don't agree. I really, really don't agree. I think that the Twitter post makes it clear. They are walking the decision back. They're walking it back. They're saying, we are not doing this. And it's obvious as to why. They lost. They lost the fight. They lost the fight. I thought they're going to dig their heels in. Oh, I don't have the scene switcher on. Hang on. Let me turn the scene switcher on. I thought they were going to dig their heels in on this. They didn't. Why? They lost. Players won. Players got what they wanted. Ignore my super. I didn't ignore your super chat. Hang on. Oh, I did miss a couple. Oh my gosh, I missed a handful. I am sorry. I'm sorry. I did. I missed a handful. That's totally on me. True Witty with the $5 super chat. If I ever miss your super chat, just tell me. Sometimes I get mid-rant and it gets pushed out of chat. Chat's kind of buzzing right now. There's almost 700 people here. Do me a favor. If you're enjoying the stream, smash that like button. Hey, I know you hate watchers are here. Give me some likes, okay? Give me some flowers. You never do, but today you can, all right? True Witty with the $5 super chat tip says, there was an option day one to sign the PSN, yes or no, but it was never popped up often. Then they postponed it and it was on Steam. Every company does it. CEO indicated that they took it off on launch date. He said they disabled it either before or on launch date. It was disabled really, really fast. Zippy Narwhal with a $5 super chat tip says the amount of PlayStation fanboys still not understanding what made this situation different is crazy. I agree with you. It's like this was a different scenario. This was not the same as other games that have it in there from moment one. Jay, the Choco Bro, review bombing the game is disgusting. I'm ashamed. It was the only way for players to voice their opinion, and the players won. They voiced their opinion and they won. Like, I don't understand why that's disgusting. They quite literally did what the consumer is supposed to do. What have I always said? If you don't agree with something, let it be known. Leave the review. Don't play the game. I always said this in Destiny. I was like, if you don't like a certain activity, don't play it. Don't you dare give it your engagement. Why? That communicates to them that the content sucks. Like, if you use your voice to say, no, we are against this. Now, listen to me. I think you could be philosophically opposed to what the PC audience was saying, but you can still celebrate the power that players have. Why in the frick do you care if a company walked back something they wanted to do because the community said no? Why are you upset by that? A gifted member comes in from Omar, and Kraos with the 20 bomb takes us all the way to 27. Unbelievable. And I got a 10 bomb to thank, a super chat. Thank you so much, Kraos. That's a massive, massive gifted member bomb. C. Lou with the $10 super chat tip says, I 100% agree on the regional blocking. That's BS. But if people are whining about making an account, especially if it doesn't affect their region, grow up. Great monologue, by the way. Thank you. Even if you don't agree with the PC audience on this particular topic, why would you be upset that players are stronger than the companies? Players are stronger than the publisher. Why would you be upset by that? What do you think? PlayStation's feelings got hurt? Are your feelings hurt? Who gives? Who cares? The PC audience just showed that we can quite literally put a foot down and say, no way, we're not letting this happen. And if PlayStation would have continued with the choice, it would have been damaging to them. That's exactly how you want the gaming economy to work. This is why I have said many, many times, okay, many, many times. Now, if you believe clips taken out of context that I'm some kind of pony, you've never seen me say this. So I'm going to say it now since I have a lot of your attention. I've said numerous times that the consumer is not properly protected on PlayStation and on Xbox. The consumers are most protected and most respected on Steam. 2 gifted members coming in from Ston Spire. I know what Ston Spire's doing. He's going to take us all the way to 30. I'm just going to give him credit for it, and I'm going to move on. He's wanting somebody to 20 bomb us to 50. William Lewis says it's not review bombing if it's a legitimate issue. Thank you. Thank you, William Lewis. That's exactly right. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go review bomb the game because I don't like the company. It was, I don't like the decision that you're making. There's the third one. Thank you, Ston Spire. Yeah, they're already out of the red. They're already out of the red. I've said this very many times. Players are most respected and players are most protected on the Steam platform because you can get refunds. And the ecosystem of the review score over there, like, look at what people did. Do you understand what this says? Do you understand the message, the loud and clear message? Do you understand the headlines and what they mean for us? You're upset and you're angry and you don't even understand that these people on PC just won a victory indirectly for you. And you don't even see it that way. You're just angry that your favorite company got their butt smacked in front of the public, all red and shiny and embarrassing. That you're upset about that. We just want to fight to say, if a company's doing something that we don't like, if a company's going to push out a policy that we don't like, we can put a stop. We can at least try to put a stop to it. And the watching world just said, "Whoa, bro! If you cross that community, they're going to take you to task." Look at what PlayStation just had to do. PlayStation had to bend the knee to the gamer. Why would you not celebrate that? Who cares? PlayStation will be fine. It's not like it's going to hurt them in the long run. Like, oh no, they're going to fail and you're not going to get more games or something. They're going to take their ball and go home. You mean gamers, you picked on us. That's not going to happen. James Wolfgang with 24 months and a member plus says, Red Badge, I'm special now. What are the June 4th deadline for the PSN account link? Is that still a thing? No, they're not going to enforce it. They walked it back. Zippy Narwhal says, fanboys are upset because their entire personality is Sony. When Sony loses, they feel like they lost too. It's borderline cultish. Hey, both sides do it. Okay, we've been watching a couple months of meltdowns and existential crises. Okay, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. DK Beggar with a gifted member takes us to 31. Thank you so much, DK Beggar. If we average 60 members this week, we'll hit the goal. You guys are already halfway there. Oh Heck with the $10 super chat says, the developers literally told PC players to put in negative reviews because it would give them more leverage in the discussion with Sony, and stated, we are with the players. And that is a developer that will always have my respect. You will always have my respect when you side with the player. The only time I've ever taken up for the companies, because I get accused of being a corporate shill, The only time I've ever taken up for companies is I take up for companies protecting their profit margins because they quite literally have to. Like, I've supported price increases because that's a requirement of inflation as well as exploding and mushrooming budgets. I've only ever defended corporations insofar as if they don't do this, they'll cease to be a company. Like, I've always just been very logical about that. It's like, if they don't do this, then they'll stop being a company. If they don't do this, they'll get sued by their shareholders. Like, I've always taken a very basic economic defense of companies. This was not an economic thing. It was a principled goal to say, we want the PSN connected. We want that data. We're trying to build an ecosystem. They can live without PSN synchronization on Helldivers. And as I said on Friday, I said, this will cause ramifications within the game quality. As I said in my upload, I said, this will cause reverberations in the player base. And yes, it will affect you on PlayStation. A 5-bomb from Savage Sharkbite, taking us to 36 members on the day. And a 2-spot from Bushin Ryu Cat says, Reforge, can we get Scalebound now? No. This could be a sign that people don't want to create an account from different companies to log into an account to play games. Could be interesting in the future. Oh, well, PlayStation isn't going to walk back the desire to have PSN synchronization for future games. Like, you're going to need to do it for Ghost of Tsushima only if you want to play there online. You don't have to do it if you want to play the single player. Rich Rod says, Lono, it's 50-50 companies and players. The one company who gives consistent quality and we bury their recent great game, Sony won't forget this. So Sony wants money, brother. Sony wants money. That's the part I don't like, says AOZ. The developer's two-facing to say they're with the players. The issue is a product of their development issues. Okay. We have to go back, though, and take in the full picture, AOZ. The weight of the world was on them and their game in those early weeks. The CEO makes a judgment call to turn off account synchronization because what's his hierarchy of priority at that point? Players first. He's like, if they can get in, that's what we need. He's also thinking of his business. He's also thinking of his property and his game. He's like, if people can't get in and play, we're done. We're cooked. This isn't going to go well for us. People won't put up with this for very long, okay? So his reaction was not inept or stupid or foolish. It was, I think, the appropriate reaction. This is not the highest good right now. This is not the highest aim of our company right now. The highest aim and the highest good is get people in the dadgum game so they can play it, okay? So they turn it off. And in the wake of that decision, the game explodes. It's being sold in other regions. I don't even know if they were aware of that. I don't know if they've indicated that. That also seemed to slip by their radar, that when they made this change, Steam opened up the game to all these other regions. Now, in light of this situation, I like to think of, there was a Tolkien book that I was listening to called The Children of Hurin, okay? And the king is told that someone is guilty of something. And the king, being a wise king, he gathers all of the information first before making a judgment. And he decides, rightly, that the person being accused is innocent. And he declares it, that they've been pardoned of what they've been accused of, and that they can come back to the kingdom. Now, the sad story is, Turin never returns. He's too prideful. Okay, wonderful story. Check out The Children of Hurin. It's great. Point being, the wise king didn't make a call just based on what he first had heard or what he had first seen. He made a call based on all the information. So, after 3 months of meteoric explosion and tons of people playing your game, and the game being sold in regions that can't even get PSN, and the feature never alerting a single player once they're in the game, PlayStation should have taken to consideration all of that and made a wise decision. They made, in my estimation, a foolish decision. Why? They didn't consider all of the circumstances. They didn't consider all of the evidence. And look what happened. All of the evidence, all of the reality, all of the truth of the situation, like a tidal wave, came crashing against the gates. And it was like, well, we better give these people what they want. It was completely unnecessary. It just was completely unnecessary. Anybody with any semblance of experience in this industry knew this was going to go over terribly. It was going to go over terribly. I don't think there was a single person. I mean, I didn't see anybody saying, oh, this is going to be great. This will be fine. Pretty much every YouTuber, every commentator was like, yeah, this is going to be bad. Now, there are obviously people that were taking up for PlayStation and making fun of the PC guys and calling them babies or whatever, but that's not like an actual intellectual argument. You're just name calling. So I would say that they made a foolish decision because they did not consider all of the information. That is my conclusion on the issue. And now, I mean, I suppose the good that could come from this is that the score bounces back and just all, you know, it's a great time to bounce back, right? There's a new war bond this week. Agreed. Based on the screenshot, it's a huge QR code with smaller font that said it was required, but then a big yellow skip. Oh, I mean, yeah, that too. I mean, are you faulting the devs for that? I mean, but that wasn't even on the screen for most people. A lot of people never saw that. We've spoken to plenty of people that have been playing Helldivers since week 1, and they never saw any kind of an alert that like, hey, you're going to be required to do this. And as I said in my monologue, right? And listen, I think something really special is happening today in the Discord and in the YouTube chat. Do you want to know what's happening? Long-standing members and long-standing community people here are not agreeing with me, showing people that we're not an echo chamber. Nobody's getting banned. Nobody's getting walked out the door. Nobody's like, oh, I can't support you anymore, Lono. Like, we're all disagreeing, and we're not seeing eye to eye on this, and everybody's still getting along. I think that hopefully to those of you that maybe have been given a bad impression about me, or maybe you thought you knew who I was or whatever, maybe you'll start hanging out more often and become a member of this community, because I love people disagreeing with me. There's a difference between disagreeing and attacking, and some people can't quite slice that lemon very well. Cloud Strife with 15 months says it's a great game, so it'll bounce back, I hope. I personally have no horse in the race, but I can see how Sony can learn from this going forward. Let me make sure I didn't miss any fan funding, any super chats. No, okay. I'm all caught up. Just another Monday. Yeah, just another Monday. Zubair says, ahem, Sony was stupid. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah, that's pretty much the long and the short of it. AOZ says, the CEO had the ability to turn it off and make a pop-up in the game saying linking was needed. AOZ, this is not a Disney movie where there's one bad person and then everybody else is good, okay? The CEO admitted publicly that he disabled it. He admitted publicly that they made the mistake of not informing the player base properly, okay? Given that reality, I think PlayStation, if they would have made a wise decision, they would have said, okay, in light of how this was poorly handled, we think it is in the best interest of the game and the player to not force this. That is called, like, case by case. That's called context. That's called judgment based on all of the facts. No one's pointing the finger and saying one side's evil, one side's good. Like, I'm not saying the developers are pure as the driven snow here. They made a mistake, but the mistake came from good intentions. It was like, we disabled this so people could play. We disabled this so that people could play. And in light of what happened, like, come on, just don't force it. I think that's called being wise. Like, and we've always talked about this, chat. I've always said what do I say? I say that's an ideology. That's not facts-based. I rail against that. I rail against the ideology of games should not go up in price. Because I say that's not rooted in economic fact or research. It's an ideology, right? I rail against people who say exclusives are the devil or exclusives are bad for the consumer. Why? It's rooted in ideology. It's not rooted in business practice or facts or any analysis of what developers have said with the complexity of development and the projects and the things they're trying to do. Nobody looks at that. This feels so rooted in ideology, like, well, PlayStation should have been able to do what they want because everybody else can. And it's like, this situation isn't that clean cut. A mistake was made. And in order to properly handle a mistake made, you don't just trudge forward. I had to thank some people. Hang on. Krayos with 10 months of members says, I don't mind too much about the PSN. I just hate that it was going to be required instead of optional. I think they did the right thing. Severin Evans with 3 months says, this shows PC players have more guts. PlayStation guys, your turn now. When they do something that you don't like, make a stink and it will change. Don't accept. Bushin Ryu Cat becomes a member. Doesn't wait on the gifted. I would love to see a bunch of people do that. Don't wait for people to gift a member. Support the channel directly. Click join. It's how I do this every day full time. I'm not sitting here doing ads and disrupting. I'm not doing a bunch of sponsored segments. I would love to, but, you know, we're not big enough for that yet. So how do we do this? We do it because of you. You sponsor the show basically every single day. And Hyde with 13 months says, the bad thing is that it supports the view that review bombing works. Toxic behavior seems validated. It's been walked back by probably because PSN availability optics are skewed. Hyde, I'm going to explain why your position's terrible in just a second, just so you can just wait for that. Hopefully, you know, sit there on the side of the boxing ring, because I'm going to demolish what you just said. I am going to do that, Hyde, but you know I love you. Roden Smith says, I'll do my own membership. We got 2 brand new members. There we go. Let's get a little new member train here. Click that join button. Don't wait for gifteds, all right? A 2-spot from Pesig says, question, why are you supporting Sony and the devs? How am I supporting Sony and the devs? What are you talking about? All right, I got to go back to Hyde's position. He says, this sets the precedent that review bombing works. This isn't review bombing. Review bombing, traditionally speaking, is done by people who don't buy the game and seek to tear it down out of maliciousness. That's not what this was. This was engaged consumers with hundreds of hours of playtime voicing their opinion in the only way that they could. That's why this worked. So I say it proves that the consumer, when voicing their opinion rather than just being maliciously hateful, it does work. They review bombed Helldivers 1 as well. I don't give a frick about that. I don't care. That's just internet tribalism and trollisms just doing their thing. Like, they're trying to send a loud and clear message that, hey, we're angry. Review bombing Helldivers 1, I don't care about that. They went and review bombed other Sony games, like in the same number, same total number. How many? Approximately. How many? See, what you guys are attempting to do is called poisoning the well. You're attempting to poison the well. You're attempting to say, because the PC audience got really angry and voiced their opinion on Helldivers 2, well, because there's bad actors in the group that also went and review bombed other unrelated games, you're like, well, it sets a bad precedent. I think it sets a precedent that if the community says, we don't want you to do this, and you do it anyway, the players can then flex their power. Like, what's the problem with that? Like, you can try to poison the well and be like, well, there's bad actors in the mix. So what? Like, if I come to your place of business with a group of people that are lodging a complaint, and one guy in the group like throws a brick through the window, like, obviously that sullies our entire effort, right? Like, don't do that. Don't act like, oh, well, what they're doing is wrong because one, or, you know, not in this case, not one, like a lot of people went and did it, but the vast majority of people didn't go and downvote Helldivers 1. They didn't. And why, again, why are you so averse to the player voicing their opinion? Like, I've got a really good example, and you PlayStation guys, you're going to love this example because you commonly defend this game against its review score on Metacritic. It's a little game called Gran Turismo 7. And when that game launched, they had made decisions with the microtransactions that angered the player base. And what did the player base do? They went to Metacritic and they bombed the heck out of it. And what happened? All of those issues have been fixed. All of those issues have been resolved, and Gran Turismo 7 now has a great score on PlayStation. So, checkmate, mic drop, be quiet. This is exactly the type of thing you have celebrated in the past because your community did it, but when the PC boys do it, it's suddenly a problem. Be quiet. You've lost the argument. And now I have to thank MASH with the 20 bomb comes in and takes us all the way to 58, blasting past 50 like none other than before the man himself. And Otagon Ocelot with 21-1 says, I don't care what countries can play or can't, TBH, as long as it launches in the US and the people crying and making another account can grow up, really. And the one spot from Philip, thank you so much. Metacritic isn't why it happened. Metacritic was a barometer of what the community was saying. It was a barometer. It was. Does anybody go back in time to Gran Turismo 7 and say that, like, oh, it set a bad precedent that, like, review bombing on Metacritic worked? Right? Are you also not making the same mistake now? You're saying, oh, they voiced it on forums and Twitter, not bombing the scores. The same thing happened here. Were you paying attention to Twitter? Were you paying attention to YouTube? What about the Helldivers Discord? What about the subreddit? Were you paying attention to any of that? They set the whole world on fire. You're citing Metacritic, L. You're being dismissive, L. Interact with what I have said. What you've just done is a coward's way of arguing. That's an L. Interact with what I've said. Interact with it. The community voiced their opinion very strongly that Gran Turismo 7 had bad microtransactions in it. They went to Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, and they bombed the heck out of it on Metacritic. And what happened? The developers reversed course on what the community loudly said they didn't like. In walks Helldivers 2. PC community rails against the decision, lowers the score, review bombs, Twitter's on fire, Reddit's on fire, the Discord's on fire, and you're treating this differently. Why? Because you suspect. You have a problem with the PC audience. You find a way to justify when the PlayStation audience does it. But now it's a problem because the PC audience didn't do it according to what? Your handbook of how to give feedback to a company when they do something you don't like? Where's this Bible that you're reading from that makes it to when the PlayStation community did it, it was fine for Gran Turismo 7. But when the PC audience does it for Helldivers 2, it's somehow different. As I said, you suspect. I got to read some super chats. William Lewis with the 2 spot. Had to rewind here on that mic drop again. Thank you. And I've got a couple gifteds. One from Siege Master, another from Siege Master, one from Harbinger. That's 3, taking us to 61. 61. Hattigan Matter, Lono dropping the mic and spitting fire. Listen to me. Everybody that's upset about this, everybody that's against this, you are literally against the players having the ability to get what they want from a company. That's how the economy of gaming should work. That's how it should work. Like, why would you be upset that we have a means of communicating directly to developers as well as publishers? Why? Why would you be upset about that? It worked. A company was going to do something, and a community said, we don't want you to do that. Like, imagine another game that you have zero interest in. Imagine there was like some sports game on Steam and they were going to push out some scummy microtransaction. Imagine they were going to do that. And imagine the Steam user base railed against it, and they downvoted the game, and they went to Twitter, and videos were made, and the subreddit was lit on fire, and everything's like was bad. And then the company walked it back. Wouldn't you celebrate that? You'd be like, hey man, good for those guys. They really let that company have it. William Lewis with a gifted member taking us to 62. Thank you so much. Yeah, I said something similar, Angel Invader. I said, rather than try to force it, why wouldn't you just try to incentivize it? Be like, hey, if you sync up your account, we'll give you some medals, we'll give you a cape, we'll give you whatever, right? Like, why not incentivize it? Why not give people something to do it, as opposed to being like, you have to do it? Like, I literally said in my video, it's like, I've always said this, right? The best way to change player behavior is to incentivize player behavior. Restricting player behavior, usually they just find a way around it. A 2-spot from Philip. Bad reviews, the greater democracy deserved. Not a banned account. Why did Sony hate your Ukrainian Helldivers? I don't know what you're talking about. Literally review bombing other games, that's not okay. Again, I'm not saying it was okay for them to review bomb other games. I'm saying I fully support the consumer screaming as loudly as they can at a developer. I'm not justifying being unkind, by the way. When I say screaming, I'm being metaphorical. If people are being unkind and death threats and all that, that's just disgusting. That's not helpful. That actually ends up hurting the aims of whatever it is you're trying to do. If you make your voice as loud as you can, if you band together like a big school of tuna and you make yourself look as big as frickin' possible and you get the company to do what you want, that is a victory, okay? If other bad actors went and review bombed other games, that's bad, but that was not the intention of the main group. Look at how many people dropped the score on Helldivers, and then give me the grand total of the people that went to Helldivers 1. It's probably a fraction of the same people. It's probably a fraction. Stone Spire, I know what you're doing. He's going to gift a member and another member. He takes us to 63, then 64. He's going to do another one. He's going to take us to 65. He's tempting somebody to dunk a 10-bomb home to 75. And I'll owe you guys 15... I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll owe you 15 members. I haven't gifted any of the members that I owe you yet. And DeRock Wilder gifts himself a member and takes it to 66. Thank you so much. That's still a good 10 bomb. That's an Agent of Chaos. Stone Spire with his 3rd in a row. Thank you, Stone Spire. Some did insult the dev. It's an adversarial system. That's how it works. You negotiate with the leverage you have. That is correct. Listen. This commonly happens. Okay? This commonly happens. The community gets angry and they go on the attack in the only way that they can. Twitter, Discord, Reddit, forums, and review scores, okay? None of this is a moral issue yet, okay? Nobody's doing anything immoral. Nobody's doing anything unethical. They're going to the avenues where they have been equipped with the means of allowing their voice to be heard, okay? Now, if, let's just use the number 300,000. If 300,000 people scrambled to Steam to drop the score, CJ Ward becomes a member. We are on a new member train, and they're not gifteds. I love to see it. So many white badges today. Keep it going. Let's say 300,000 people do that, okay? If out of the 300,000, you get, 10,000, 20,000 people that permeate out and do bad stuff. They go review bomb other games, or they're being hateful on the forums, or they're being hateful in Discord. What you can't do, that's called poisoning the well. If you try to make that seem like, well, that's what this is about, these people are bad. You know that's not fair, because the minute you believe in something, you don't want bad actors pinned to your chest. You don't want the bad actors pinned to your movement. Do you see? Like, if you're trying to voice your opinion about something, let's say that you were really upset about the Gran Turismo 7 microtransactions. Let's say you were really upset about that. and you were voicing your opinion about it, and some guy next to you starts hurling death threats and saying hateful things, you don't want that person's behavior like associated with you. You're like, I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to use Twitter or whatever it is that you're using. Let's say you went and left a bad review on Metacritic. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to say, hey, we don't like this. This is the best way to get your attention. Rambling Entertained says, if you want to showcase the difference in mindset between both platforms, look at Windows Live and PlayStation Plus. One of those never took off. And Otagon Ocelot with a $5 super chat tip says, personally, I find it extremely pathetic with strong beta energy to do that all over an account. It's not the same as microtransactions problems. It's sad, really. Okay, you guys are now getting into the particulars of the analogy, which is a fatal mistake. My analogy was simply to say, when the consumer says, we don't like this, you don't even have to agree with them. You could have thought the microtransactions were fine in Gran Turismo. You could think that attaching your account to PlayStation on Steam is no big deal. You know what's wonderful about the market is you can have that opinion and hundreds of thousands of other people can have a completely different opinion. And guess who wins? The people that voice their opinion the loudest and group together. And that's how it works. They're the ones in the game. They're the ones voicing their opinion. They're the ones supporting the game. They're the ones potentially funneling money into the game after this point and not just up to now. That's what they're supposed to do. You could say, well, the microtransactions in Gran Turismo are not an equivalency to syncing with a PSN account. I never argued they were equivalent. I said the behavior is essentially identical. It's identical. You're going to do something we don't like. We're going to review bomb. We're going to yell on Twitter and Reddit and forums and anywhere we can go to let you know we are not okay with this. You can say, oh, well, the microtransactions were worse than linking to a PSN account. That was not the point of my argument. The point of my argument was you're totally fine with review bombing when it's this crowd over here or when it's this issue over here. Well, then it's justified. I call that, I don't know if this is a real fallacy or not, I call that the fallacy of the moral high ground. You think because that issue you have the moral high ground, it justifies the behavior, but over there, no, that's not moral high ground. That's just people being persnickety and babies, so they're not allowed to do it. I think that's fallacious. It's honestly just hypocrisy. It's like, well, these people are allowed to review bomb and yell and scream about Gran Turismo microtransactions, but the Helldivers 2 community on PC, they're not allowed to because it wasn't that big of a deal. You see the problem with that viewpoint? A 50 spot from DeRock Wilder says, just going to say it here. I'm looking at Helldivers 1 on Steam right now. There's around 400 negative reviews from the past days. Oh, be still my beating heart. 400 people went and downvoted Helldivers 1. Do you see what y'all are guilty of? This fog of war nonsense. You're trying to create this idea that these mean Helldivers 1 PC players, they went and they hurt other games. Well, 400 people. Ooh. That proves the point. The vast majority of the users were focused on Helldivers 2, and the issue was with Helldivers 2, not with these other games. Oh my gosh, a bunch has happened. I'm trying to scroll down to catch up. Hang on. D-Tom with 32 months. Great discussion for a great community. Thanks, Lono. Thank you, D-Tom with 32 months. 32 months from the Danzatastic with the member pluses. Dope shirt. And then Danzatastic gifts a 5-bomb and takes us to 72. Takes us to 72. Thank you, my friend. And he's not the only one. P. Ziggy with a 5 spot says, I think there is some disconnect between Arrowhead and Sony. How could this game be sold in so many countries without a PSN? That actually was given to me, some information from sort of like insiders. Apparently, the studio's getting so warm. I'm going to have to open up the door. Oh my gosh. I'm like losing my train of thought. So apparently when they removed the requirement to log in, it opened up the game in other regions like automatically. And I don't think anybody really knew that it had happened. It was like an unforeseen mistake. And MASH comes in with a 10 bomb and takes us to 82. He's basically putting us on the runway to 100 members. Well, I will owe you guys a 20 bomb. I've been holding off. I haven't gifted any of the members that I owe yet. Today, you guys have been absolutely going back and forth with me, and I appreciate it. And then William Lewis with the $5 super chat tip says, people who are the most vocal about it's just an innocent, why do you care, are looking at this as a me issue. It's not affecting them, so who cares? By the way, good to see you, Doc. This wasn't review bombing to me, says Doc Dark. He says, this was a real critique. Now I will reverse my review. Isn't that exactly the point? That gets to the heart of the issue. It's like people came and said, we are not okay with this. Reverse course. And when they reverse course, the score, I don't know if it'll bounce all the way back. Some people just do it and they'll never turn it back. I've got to open the office door. Give me 4 seconds. Whew, I'm getting warm. Helldivers 1's actually getting positive review bombed right now. Dubear says, I have a call. Someone take notes for me until I get back. Hyde says, it's not about moral high ground, but we should have some morality in the discourse in general. Okay. Hyde, I don't disagree with you. If you are going to enter into the public square and have discourse about an issue, I think you should hold yourself to proper decorum of respect and kindness. Okay? I was listening to the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, and he said something to the effect of like that cruelty can be disguised if it's a practical joke, right? Well, I think our modern version of that is like, cruelty can be disguised as like, well, I'm just trolling or whatever. Or there's just people that are just outright malicious and nasty. The point being that as long as somebody's abiding by those, then you should listen to them. But here's the problem. Just because person A is saying similar things of like, I don't like this, and then the guy next to him is going, I don't like this, and then they commence with proper behavior, and this guy commences with just abhorrent behavior, you can't lump everybody in with the abhorrent person. Helldivers 2 has gotten 100,000 positive reviews today, so it's going back up. Yeah, it'll go back the other direction. It really will. There are a surprising amount of severely uninformed or maybe delusional people out there that genuinely believe the customer should have no avenue to provoke action from a company for products they sell that we pay for. Kindness is not respectful. That's a common mistake. If you are kind, you will refuse to hurt someone's feelings when it might be truthful to do so. No, I actually think that's the inverse of kindness. I think that's philosophically defunct. Would it be kind for the doctor to lie to you and not tell you what you really have because it might hurt you and upset you? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's a kindness for me to tell you that you have something in your teeth. Yes, it might kind of embarrass you and hurt your feelings, but I'm sparing you greater embarrassment later. It's a kindness to tell you that you have bad breath. It might hurt your feelings in the moment and embarrass you. Do you understand? Like, it's a kindness to speak truth to somebody, even if it hurts their feelings. You're doing it for their betterment, which is a greater version of kindness than, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Do you want to know what not hurting their feelings is and not telling the truth is? That's not kindness. That's pride. You're more concerned with how they perceive you, and you're willing to sacrifice truth in order to have them continue to like you and think well of you. That's pride. Ryan here with 32 months in the VIP. Dope shirt, brother. Where can I get one? I got this from the PlayStation Store. And it was back ordered for like 2 months. I ordered it like 2 months ago. So, kindness is loaning someone your strength instead of reminding them of their weakness. I mean, that'd be one definition, but again, loaning them your strength could be telling them the truth. You'd be letting them know that they have a flaw or a problem or a blind spot. I don't know. That's like open rebuke is better than secret love. That's exactly right. I don't think it's pride. It's more like cowardice. Pride is often driven by cowardice. You are fearful of what someone might think of you. That's a version of pride. That's a version of self-centeredness. You're putting yourself before them. The problem is that being less destructive in and of itself would lead more to things not being acted on because it has no business-related effects on the company, giving them no reason to act. Right. So, okay. So what Solemn is kind of getting at is something that I've been wanting to say is I really do think what people missed here was we have always said, speak with your wallet. So my question is to all of you that have a real problem with the, as you wrongfully label it, review bombing. We don't have another term, so I'm not necessarily accusing you of dishonesty, but I don't think it's an accurate term. I get why you're saying it. We don't have another great terminology to call what happened anything else. So for now, we'll just call it review bombing, okay? For those of you that have a problem with them review bombing, we commonly say speak with your wallet. How are hundreds of thousands of people supposed to speak with their wallet when they've already purchased the game and they've been playing it for 3 months? What are they supposed to do? Stop playing. That would be a pretty meager response. It might have gotten their attention. You're like, oh, right? People are not playing. A new war bond would come out and it would really hide that effort because a lot of people would pour back in and play no matter what, especially PlayStation users as well. So the best way for them to speak with their wallet is to say, I bought this game with my wallet, which gives me the ability to leave a score or change my score. My wallet bought me that power, and they flex that power over the weekend. And I have absolutely zero problem with it. I celebrate it. That's exactly what you should do. I have always said that. I said on Friday, people should drop the score and people should request refunds. That's what they should do. That's the absolute best way to communicate to this company you do not like what they're doing. And guess what? The beauty of how an economy like this works is, let's say only a couple thousand people really caught the vision and review bombed and requested refunds. But the vast majority of the player base didn't do that and kept on playing. Do you know what that says? That says the market will bear the decision, and that it's going to happen. Like, that's quite literally, that's just how it goes. If the community, bands together in such a great number and gets the company to reverse course on something they don't want to have happen, again, you don't have to agree with the PC guys and their viewpoint. You could be like, it's not a big deal, just sign up. It's fine for you. It's fine for you to say that. It's fine for you to think that. But the fact that they all felt it so strongly and then won the fight, you should celebrate that because that means you could do the same thing in the future. If a company does something you don't like, we now have a playbook to say, hey, knock that off. Don't do that. I have no issue with people changing scores. I just doubt the overall sincerity of the people involved. I see a social movement, not genuine customer complaints. I don't see social movement and genuine customer complaints as completely divorced from each other, Eugene. I don't. At some level, gaming has become a very social thing, and if it gets infected by practices we don't like, a social movement against that. Like predatory practices, like gambling or pay to win, or any of those things that people have mounted levels of social movement against. I don't think you can divorce, gaming from social existence. Like for some people, like this quite literally is where they live socially. And if you threaten that, if you disrupt that, they are going to respond strongly. Games are charged $70 on consoles just because. How do you want that to happen? Not buying the game? Yeah, one of your best course of actions against $70 prices is to not buy the game. And you're losing that fight because people are continuing to buy games at $70. Therefore, companies would be stupid to not do it. If the market supports a price increase, you're dumb to not do a price increase. That's just basic business 101. When I raised my hourly rate as a graphic designer and I got new clients and better clients and the market that I was putting myself into supported my price increase, I would have been stupid to be like, well, I shouldn't do it because it's not nice. Or some of these companies don't have as much money as other companies. Like, that would have been so dumb of me. That was the appropriate decision because it was like, I'm offering a service and a value proposition at a price, and there are businesses that are willing to pay that. And if the consumers are saying these games, these experiences are worth $70, then the market is bearing the decision. Now, if everybody would have revolted and boycotted $70 price increases, do you want to know what would have happened? The companies would have walked back the price increase because they would have been losing more money by not just selling the game at $60. That's why this relationship is not one that we should be upset by. This is how it's supposed to work. This is quite literally how it's supposed to work. Company attempts to do a thing. If you don't like that thing, you have ways of communicating that. When Concord comes out and has required people to sign in and play, will people be upset and review bomb then? No, I don't think so, because it will be there day one. It'll be there day one. And they'll have the option. They'll boot up the game, and they'll say, you know, the trailers, the review scores, my buddies are saying it. I think I'm going to get this game. Do you want to know why they won't be able to review bomb that game? Because if they boot up the game and they decide they don't want to sync with a PSN and they get a refund, their score doesn't count. This has been confirmed by Steam. So, it was in Helldivers Day 1 too? No, it wasn't. Go to Helldivers 1 Steam's page. That's not correct. I mean, I'll show it to you. Because I had people claiming that. It's not there. Completely different box. All that is on the Helldivers 1 page is requirement of a third-party EULA. You are incorrect. It is not requiring you to have a third-party account. It's right here. It's right. I'm right here on the Helldivers 1 page. So, no, it wasn't there in Helldivers 1. I mean, maybe they turned it off. They turned it off first week. Okay. Are you accidentally trying to make my point stronger, or are you doing it on purpose? Helldivers 2, Lono, day 1? No, incorrect. According to the CEO, it was disabled at launch. That's what he said. It was disabled at launch. So if somebody saw it day 1, you were like one of the first people. You originally said Helldivers 1, did you not, Hyde? You said it was in Helldivers Day 1 too. Oh, you just put Helldivers. You didn't put Helldivers 2. You said it was in Helldivers Day 1 too. And because you said 2, I thought you were referring to the first game. It was not in Day 1 for very long. The CEO said they turned it off at launch, and plenty of people were like, I played Day 1 and never saw it. Patrick Q says, I played it in the evening day 1. It was never there for me. Patrick Q played day 1. He doesn't even have a PSN account. He's like, I never saw it. It's possible that because the authentication servers were acting up, that maybe people weren't even seeing the alert to do it. They were just not even seeing it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I think you guys are never going to win this argument that, like, well, it was there the first day for some people. Look how many people bought it after that first day, first 36 hours, yes. So 98% of the people who bought Helldivers 2 after the 36-hour window never, ever saw it. So again, you're only making my argument stronger. Well, in the first 36 hours, if you were lucky enough to get in, you saw the message. However, there are people from day 1 reporting they never saw the message. Because why? Because the game was glitchy and buggy and stuff wasn't working right. You're never going to win this argument. They disabled it. It was a disaster from moment one. And from that point on, for 3 months, it was never turned on. In light of those circumstances, it made perfectly good sense to not do it. And PlayStation agrees with me, not you. Because they have decided, you know what? It's too damaging to do this. Consumers have spoken. Walk it back. I think you and the people disagreeing with you feel like the bombing stuff is new. Back when Steam and Bethesda initially tried to bring paid mods, people bombed it and they reversed. Another good example of the consumer doing what they're supposed to do. They're speaking with the power given to them. D-Tom says, you can't have it not show up for the majority of the players and then implement the rule for them. This is why sometimes you just need to give paying customers the benefit of the doubt. Severin Evans says, I never saw it day one either, but I do have a PSN account. Well, have you already linked your PSN with your Steam? I wonder if some people didn't see it because they already linked for previous games. Somebody ordered some coffee. Thank you so much. Somebody with your first name starts with L. Thank you very much. I don't want to say your name unless it's like the name you use in Discord. I'm sorry, in YouTube chat. PWH-Town with a $5 super chat tip says, so going forward, what do you think Sony should do regarding the PSN account linking? Like, how should they handle it? Make sure it's working day one. I really do think everybody needs to just take a breath and remember, nobody, not even the developers of this game, not Sony, not me, not you, nobody thought Helldivers 2 was going to be so insanely popular that they were going to have to disable something. Do you understand that, like, if this game wasn't meteoric and insanely popular, it would have been on from moment one and this never would have happened. Like, it's such a unique circumstance. Like, it's so unique. It's like, nobody knew this game was going to explode. They didn't have enough server capacity. I skipped you? How did I skip you? Oh, I'm sorry. Odegon Ocelot. Dude, chat's moving really fast. You guys at Super Chat, cut me some slack. You know that I intend to read them. I don't skip on purpose. Odegon Ocelot says, with a $5 Super Chat tip, says, people that bought it on PC in those countries should ask their local drug lord dictator to allow PlayStation access in said country after the refund. I mean, we don't need to get, like, nasty about other places in the world. Just checked, 12-hour difference between release in certain time zones. So that said, that'll explain why some would say day one they didn't see it. Right, yeah, time zone differences for sure. Sony needs to learn that devs can't be trusted with contractual obligations and that they would leave a requirement off for months and leverage public backlash against itself. I mean, in moments like this, I lean towards the consumer when the mistake was made by the company. And all PlayStation had to do was, okay, given these circumstances, we feel that this was all unforeseen, right? This wasn't malicious. I don't believe the Arrowhead CEO was like, hey guys, I got a brilliant idea. Let's turn off account linking. Okay? And then in 3 months' time, we'll weaponize a meteorically viral community against PlayStation. Like, I don't think that was even in anybody's mind. I quite literally think the CEO did what he thought was best in the moment because it was chaos. It was utter chaos. They didn't even have enough server capacity. When they finally were able to boost server capacity by 100,000, within minutes, servers were at capacity again. They were, did you remember the tweets? They weren't sleeping. They were staying at the office. They were having these late night meetings. They were like, oh my gosh, what do we do? PlayStation leaned in to help. Like, this was not a situation where he's some 9,000 IQ genius that thought, I know what we're going to do. We're going to go viral. We're going to become so popular that if we turn this off and try to turn it back on in 3 months, the community will get so angry, we'll be able to weaponize that against PlayStation and get what we want. There's absolutely no way that was the plan. There is no way that was the plan. It's an unfounded accusation to say that. Not at Lono, but whoever said that. Yeah, I cannot imagine that they did this like by design, like on purpose. Listen, I will give you an example from my own experience as a YouTuber, okay? In the early days of coming over to YouTube, Harbinger with a gifted member, thank you so much. We did a ton of things that were reactionary, okay? Because we were in a panic. And we were trying to fix problems. We were trying to fix things that seemed like, what do we got to do? We got to react. We got to react. We got to react, okay? Months later, those reactions had unforeseen complications and problems for like what we wanted to do. We're still dealing with that today. Like, we don't want to have multiple member tiers. We prefer it to be more simplistic, but you know, I spent 5 years on Purple. I came over here. I had a Destiny audience. I had all these expectations about members. And so we have now imported some of those reactions into the present day. I think that's just a good analogy and picture into when you are in the heat of the moment and it's like, what do we do? The world's on fire, and they react and say, let's just turn this off. It'll help people get in. I can't look at that and think anything other than this was an inadvertent mistake. This was just a thing they tried to fix the issue. PlayStation should have properly looked into this and said, we get why you did it. You know, whether or not they think it was the right decision, you know, they can have that debate privately. And then you say, in light of the game's popularity, in light of the explosive growth and the inverse sales curve, we agree this is not a good idea. The game's community's too engaged. They're too organized. This will go poorly for us. That's what PlayStation should have done. Not wait for the crap to hit the fan and say, well, we got crap all over the wall. I guess it's time to mop it up. That's why I say PlayStation's the one that made the mistake here. I was being hyperbolic. It wasn't intentional. The problem is there's a precedent now. I don't find your argument compelling, AOZ, and here's why. Here's why. Your line of reasoning really reminds me of arguments I've had with people where I am advocating for supporting a game like No Man's Sky for turning things around. And commonly I'll be met with, well, if we support a game that launches bad and then fixes itself over time, we're setting a bad precedent. Game companies are going to say, well, let's just launch a bad game and fix it later. I've always found that to be an uncompelling argument because of the massive business risk involved with doing that. So your line of thinking is, and we've spoken a little bit about this privately, so I know where your head is on this, and I think what you're saying at some level's fair, but I don't find it compelling. Your argument is essentially, well, future live service games are going to intentionally sabotage PSN linking so that it has to be disabled, and then they're going to argue, well, it's been a couple of weeks, we can't turn it on. I don't think a situation like this has legs ever again. Number one, Helldivers is going to survive this because of its own inherent popularity. Not every live service game has that. Live service games are fragile, they're tough, they're a really hard sell, and the last thing you're going to want to do is intentionally sabotage any part of it, whether it's a Concord or anything else. I don't think a company is going to say, I have an idea, let's sabotage PSN linking so that then we can get PlayStation to not make us do it. I just don't think so. I find that to be an uncompelling argument that any company would manufacture something like this. This was quite literally only possible because of Helldivers exploding well beyond expectations. It's such a unique circumstance. It's mismanagement of expectations on behalf of the developer. It would have been trivial to keep the player notified of their requirement along the way. Oh no, I agree with you on that. And the CEO owns that. But don't you think they've been worried about bigger fires? Like, just take a step back for a second, AOZ, and imagine that you were just trying to look at this from all angles. I'm not saying that you're not. I'm just advocating for that. Like, let's just consider all angles. I would hazard a guess that the last 3 months, this was the last thing on their mind. Hey, we better make sure and put an alert in there. Now, I said that in my video. I said they should have put an alert in the game where you had to, like, hold down the enter button for a really long time, and it was like, you will at one point be required to connect your PSN to play this game on PC. They didn't do that. I can give the developers the benefit of the doubt and say they've been putting out fires to such a degree, the community asked them to stop giving new war bonds so they could focus on fixing problems. Like, that's how many problems are in this game. That's some crashing and bugs and problems have been in high number. That's what their focus has been, not we better put an alert in there because, you know, people are going to get it. Probably just exited the frame. They never even thought about it. Sony was wrong to move slowly. I agree. The decision at the end was a good one with heavy quality of life consequences. Agreed. Agreed. I think the silver lining here is that the score will likely bounce back and players now have a very good assessment of their power. Oh, well, people are going to do this over every little thing now. Yeah, but they're not going to get any momentum. This got momentum because it was significant. You were having to disable regions. You were having to refund people who bought it in those regions. Like, this wasn't like, oh, you nerfed a gun that we really liked. Like, we've talked about this before, and I have said that a company should never be afraid of the anger of the community. Like, if they nerf a gun and the community gets angry, I've always said that is a symptom of health. Those are engaged players. They're passionate. They care. If they didn't care, you wouldn't be hearing from them. The last thing you want from your player base is apathy, okay? So I believe there are levels of anger that are great. It's a symptom of health. It means your players are engaged. If they're in your Discord calling you a jerk because you nerfed their favorite weapon, you've got that person. They're a player. They love your game, all right? This went beyond anger. I would call this collective righteous indignation. And when that happens, it really does come down to how many people feel that way, right? Now, somebody might push back and say, well, a lot of these people just did it because they thought it would be fun or they thought it would be funny. Okay, in this large quantity, I think a lot of these people come from the Steam audience and they don't want that. They don't want to have to sign up for a PSN. They don't want to link their PSN. They just want to keep playing. There's also people that were probably like, oh, I can no longer play the game now. You know, they're probably in the mix too. And they're like, what? Or my friend can no longer play the game now. I think long-term it's going to be worse for players. Sony will become more restrictive. Players in unsupported countries will be totally without options, but we shall see. I mean, I actually see it another way, Eugene. I would think PSN would try to expand into those countries. They now have a very good indication of where they actually have potential consumers for if they want to launch a launcher, if they want to release a launcher or something like that. Sacrifice the future over a small issue, picked a terrible battle. Yeah, I just don't see it that way. I don't think they sacrifice anything. I think they quite literally walked into the room and said, don't you frickin' ignore us. Don't you dare ignore us. We don't want you to do this thing. Whether or not you agree on the issue they voiced it over, it's establishing a balance of power. Like, that I think is important. It's like the user has power. Now, that power cannot be wielded haphazardly, because if you get really angry about a nerfed gun, you're not going to be able to get hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people to mobilize and agree with you. Like, do you see? It's a difficult power to wield. It's a really, really heavy sword, and it can only be wielded by lots and lots of people. It cannot be wielded recklessly. I don't believe that. I believe this can only be wielded with the masses. And if the masses get behind a game and they're supporting the game and they decide that they don't like this thing that you're doing, well, they can pick up the sword and they can swing it. Now, whether or not it makes a dent in the armor, that also is a question. This time it did. Yeah. Sometimes it might not. Sometimes a company might be like, no, that's our policy. Sorry. I honestly thought Sony was going to do that. I thought their ego's going to get in the way, dude. Their ego's going to totally get in the way. Removing a game that was played and paid for is much different than being upset about a nerf. That's exactly right, Jake. Like, I don't have fear of slippery slope here. I don't have fear of people, wielding this power as a community. I don't feel like this is going in the wrong direction. I feel like this is always going to be put in check by it only works if everybody, like a vast majority of people, get behind it. Users in those countries have PSN accounts right now and have for years. Yeah, and what makes you think suddenly that the hammer is going to come down on those people? I don't see. I feel like that's a non. Those aren't. I don't feel like there's a logical connection between those things. I don't see a connection between. Well, there's people right now that in those countries were finding workarounds to get PSNs, and now PlayStation's going to bring the hammer down on them. I don't think so. Do you think Sony will force PSN accounts for future live service games? Yes, they will. I actually think this is even greater evidence that they want to put their own launcher on PC. Bunny says, Sony says you must create a PSN account to play a PC game that you already bought. Also, Sony, you must buy a PlayStation to create a PSN account in Japan. I think they would have been able to link Steam, and now they won't. How was it waking up to this and remembering the video you made last night? Oh, it was a bit of a panic because my video, I was very proud of my video. I thought I did a good job. I felt like my sections were well worded and well written. I felt like I recorded them very well. I was confident that Creature was going to be able to put it together in a really good way. And I woke up this morning. What's funny is I woke up at 5 and I didn't know why. I was like, why am I up at 5? And I wish I would have checked Discord. If Creature would have texted me, I would have gotten up right then and there. So I get up at 6:30 and I see his DM and I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. So we basically decide that the video is too good to not use. I'm like, it's just such a great breakdown of how it started, how it happened, who is ultimately at fault. And I actually think it makes me look like, okay, this guy had this on lock. He had this situation on properly framed. So what we did is we just took a minute and a half at the front end of the video to say, hey, good job. Watch this video as a congratulations. Watch this video as a bit of an I told you so, because, I think it's still a great breakdown and it's getting good view duration. People aren't like bailing on the video. They're like, that was our biggest concern, is that people wouldn't watch it. We're getting an average of about half of the video, that one third to half of the video is getting watched by most people. That's actually pretty good considering the fact that it's a lot of the information is basically, it's 24 hours old, which is bad in this world. But I just felt like the video was too good to not push out. So, yeah. He was thinking just go live and do it on the front end as a monologue on the live stream, and I didn't want to do that. I thought that was a decent fallback, but not the primary plan that I wanted to implement. So if you guys didn't watch that upload, if you didn't watch that premiere, please do that. Support that video, watch it all the way through, leave a like, leave a comment, help that video out, because there are going to be people that get 5 minutes in and they're going to bail. They're going to be like, oh, I don't need this information now, if they're walking it back. So if you like the channel and you like me and you like my coverage and you're like, yes, I agree, that's a really great way to support me. Every morning, Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, we have a premiere go live. It's super helpful to me when you guys dogpile on that premiere and you're all in there talking and getting the community riled up and ready to go for a live stream. This guy just leaves a comment on the video. Yikes, I said, indeed. Wait, how is that an Arrowhead or a Sony problem? That's just Valve needing to redo the entire game info interface. Well, but they disabled it. Arrowhead disabled the PSN requirement. They are the ones that cause that. This guy says, if other publishers are doing it, why is it a problem when Sony does it? That's the point. We've been eating crap for a long time, and we refuse to eat more of it. It took 3 months to turn on. That's why. I was surprised that people kept missing that on Twitter. Like, I got a little irritated and told the one guy, I was like, this is so pedestrian. Like, other companies do it. And I was like, yeah. Do they try to turn it off? Did they try to turn it on after 3 months of meteoric success? Like, that's the difference here. The difference is that it wasn't on at the beginning. Like, that's the enormous glaring, categorical shift that you have to have in your mind. Like, if people would have done this day one and been really angry and review bombed the game or whatever whatever the heck, I would have been with you to say, what's everybody's problem? Plenty of games do this. There is a part of me that wonders. Was this game, hey, thanks for ordering some coffee, somebody with the name that starts with A. We're gonna change that. Eventually I'll be able to use your usernames again. Like, let me just toss out a theory here. A possibility, a possible contributing factor to the success of Helldivers. Do you think one of the reasons that Helldivers has been so successful and continued to grow and do well, and even the majority of the player base is on Steam, do you think it's because the PSN requirement wasn't there? Like, do you think that there's a pretty good percentage of players in the pool that were like, oh, cool, they're not requiring me to do that? Like, there's a part of me that thinks that might be, something that PlayStation is none too happy to see, that, well, maybe this game did very well on Steam because we didn't require that thing that many of them find pesky and annoying. Mediocre Milton says, isn't this backlash a sign of a Sony PC launcher will not go over well? If people don't want to spend 1 minute linking a PSN account, what makes you think that they will download a new launcher? I think that's well stated, Mediocre Milton, but here's the thing. I think if they do day and date and you really want to play, let's say Spider-Man 3. I continue to think that, like, Spider-Man 3 is going to be day and date on PC. But if you can only get Spider-Man 3 in the launcher and not on Steam, there's going to be a lot of people that'll do it instead of waiting. And then those that wait, no worries. PlayStation still gets money from you. Some of you guys are saying yes, some are saying no, some are saying maybe. I'm not saying it's the reason. I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me at all if a contributing factor to this game's success on PC is that they didn't require PSN for 3 months. Zubair says, can we think of an example where something like this has gone well? Forced change to the rules, but the publisher was considerate and people accepted it. Yeah, I don't know. I truly don't know. Like, I think there's a percentage of people that would be like, I'm going to download the launcher so I can get Spider-Man 3 right now. And then there's a percentage of people that wouldn't, and they would just wait. Like, you know what I'm saying? PlayStation's motivation would be, let's just imagine that you get roughly 1 million people to buy Spider-Man 3 through your launcher. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money because they're not doing a revenue share with Steam. And then over the course of the 6 months or however long they make Steam wait, over the course of that 6 months to a year, maybe they sell another 1 million. I don't know. Maybe after it's all said and done, before they kick the game to Steam, they sell roughly 2 million copies of Spider-Man 3 on their PlayStation launcher. To them, that's just more money. Because prior to doing that, they were only selling on console. So that's just an extra 2 million sales, 100% of the proceeds going to them. Right? And then a year later, you kick it to Steam. And sure, the Steam user base, would potentially buy less copies at that point in time. But I think PlayStation's desire would be to maximize profit day one, week one, month one, whatever. Oh, guys, this shirt is not from Into the AM. This is just from the PlayStation Store. Sorry, I didn't update the shirt command. We're not sponsored by PlayStation or Helldivers. I ordered this shirt as a fan 2 months ago, and it was back ordered. And it finally showed up on Friday. Yeah, Helldivers' score is already turning around. They've already just today, it looks like, had 33,000 positive reviews. So, that's basically almost equal to... You guys want to see something? The first day this happened, they got 36,000 negative reviews, right? They've already got basically what equal to what they got the first day. So, we'll see how this continues. We'll see if they can completely reverse all those negative reviews. We'll see. Hang on. Chris F says, check my last comment, please. All right, hang on. I don't think it was specifically them looking for the game not having a third-party login. It's more that if it was enforced day one, a percentage wouldn't have continued playing. Right, that's why I said it's a contributing factor. It was just more people able to play that might have said, no, thank you, I don't want to make a PSN. What percentage of that, I don't know. But there's a percentage of people that would have said, no, I'm not playing that game if I have to make a PSN. Kirk says, one thing about this is why would Helldivers 2 require a login when it's not a PlayStation Studios game? Sony doesn't own Arrowhead. Well, they don't own Arrowhead, but they own the IP, Kirk. So I do think that sort of complicates your pushback a little bit. Yo, thank you so much for renewing your membership, Marcus. Good to see you, Marcus. Doc and Lono agree, but Doc sings, so it made sense. Is Doc still here? Has he said anything? I always like to, have a little bit of a back and forth with him, but I think sometimes he pops in and then has to go. You know. Yeah, Sony owns the IP, so they had every right to do this, to be like, that's our game, and if people are going to play it, we want it linked to, a PSN. Think about Sony's data breach. 77 million accounts were breached. When did that happen? Are you talking about in the past? I feel like every other week I get an email. We had a data breach. Great, thanks. A 5-spot from Zippy Narwhal says, I'm telling you, that's the plan. PS5 exclusives go day and date to PC, but you have to use the PlayStation launcher to be able to purchase it. Yeah, I for one think that's going to be the plan, yes. Zubair says, it feels like an alteration of the deal. In a milieu where we all feel imposed upon by publishers, we are going to be sensitive to that. Philip Alexander with a 2-spot says, as a full PC anti-console guy, I would never buy it. Okay. Let's talk about a completely different angle here. Guys, by the way, let's get 400 likes on the video. Take a second, smash like. If you've never been here before, I'm a Safe for Work broadcaster. You may have noticed I've been streaming for almost 2 hours. I'm not sitting here cursing and swearing. You can throw me on in the background of your day like a podcast, like a video game podcast. I cover all sorts of things in the gaming industry. So be sure to hit subscribe. Be sure to hit the bell button and do that like button right now. Let's hit 400 likes. We are also 17 members away from hitting 100 members on the day. I'm going to have to do it's a VR game that's like a Just Dance game. I'm going to have to do that this Friday night if you guys hit the goal. The goal is only 300 members. We're going to have to come up with a stretch goal at this point because you guys are going to crush the 300 goal with this pace, right? Okay, so yeah, I want to respond kind of to what Philip Alexander is saying. Let's consider another angle here. Do you think that this story ends up turning into a big win for the game on PC because the PC user base is going to say, hey, good on you, boys. What a win. I'm going to go buy that game now. I'm going to go buy that game. They basically said we are not going to have to sync a PSN, and the PC user base smacked PlayStation right on the noggin, and now I'm going to go buy that game. Like, do you think there could be a victory here of increased sales on PC because of this? Do you know what I'm saying? Like almost a completely unintended consequence. That the PC user base suddenly really, really gets behind this game and says, hey man, let's support that game. We don't have to worry about PSN syncing. The PC user base just had a big victory. I don't know. You think the damage is already done? I'm asking. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that's a possibility. Moog for 600. I think when we did that last week and we said if we hit 300 in that day and we only needed 200, yeah, we could say 4. We could stretch it beyond the 300 to 400 total. And I give you guys Moog. I really don't want to. I don't think I would. I think I would not drink that night. I'll be honest with you. I get too grumpy too fast. Steam had account issues just this past fall and winter. As a PC gamer since '87, I don't trust Sony anymore. Okay, so you feel like this burned a bridge. It didn't build one, okay? Bean with Bacon is basically saying this burned a bridge. I'm just happy my Chinese friend that I met in the game 3 weeks ago can play. We celebrated this morning about it. They're not making y'all sign in. It's going to be backlash from Sony real customers who pay PSN. You know, I think I'm just going to say the same thing guys said on Friday. Okay, cry about it. Don't play. Like, people kind of strutted around on Friday. And they were like, this game's too popular. It's not going to be affected by this. This is a blip on the radar. Cry more. Cry more, PC Master Race. Just don't play. I guess if you're really upset that the PC user base won this fight, then you're really angry, maybe take your own advice. Cry more and don't play. I mean, you know, game's kind of popular. I think it'll be okay. I mean, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine without you. The game's got pull. Apparently, it's got so much pull. Like, it went crazy over the weekend. The whole story went viral. You know what I mean? I thought this was going to be a nothing burger. That's what I was told. I was told it's a nothing burger. I was like, this isn't going to do anything. Yeah. Everybody's agreeing with Muns. What did Muns say? Don't flatter yourselves. Sony doesn't need any of you. Oh yeah, Sony doesn't need any of you. Don't flatter yourselves. I'm just going to speculate something. You know? I'm just going to speculate something. Still a nothing burger? So much of a nothing burger that it went viral, it's going to be some of our most watched content this month. But sure, yeah, it's a nothing burger. Anyways, I'm going to speculate something. I think there's a thread of jealousy that the PC user base is equipped in a better way to rally, organize, and vocalize their opinion. I do. I think there's a thread of jealousy. What are you going to do if, a PlayStation game comes out and you really don't like what they do? Like, you better hope you can really vocalize it the way people did with Gran Turismo 7, right? It's harder to mobilize. Like the Steam user base has proven. Don't cross us. Don't you dare cross us. We'll spank you. We'll take you down on Main Street and we will spank your bare butt in front of the world. It's harder to do that on a console. It really is. I think it's harder to do. So, I mean, you can mock and jeer and call them crybabies and you know, whatever pejorative you want to come up with. It doesn't change the fact that this was I call it what it is. This is a flex. The PC user base flexed and said, we're not going to let this happen. Not without it being very painful for you, right? I also think this is a unique situation because the player base is just used to organizing around something. This was like when Xbox players realized they weren't the apple of Microsoft's eye. I mean, kind of. When you mentioned incentivize to get PlayStation linking, how would you feel about exclusive primary weapon upon linking? I mean, that would certainly... now's not the time for that, would be my word of caution. Now's not the time for that. If the PlayStation boys, if any PlayStation account holder gets a weapon, I like it. I like it. It's got some moxie. That's a gutsy pull. I don't think now's the time for that. Like, you're like, hey, our goodwill with the PC audience is, you know, we're kind of rebuilding it. I've got an idea. Let's give a gun to the PlayStation users and not to PC unless they link with a PSN. Oh, man. I think everything's a little fragile right now. I do. I think I think you try that in 6 months. I think you win back a lot of goodwill and you say, hey, you know, we really like the idea of having a more unified ecosystem. It gives us a little bit more control over player analysis and banning or whatever kind of PR crap they want to spit in your eye. And they say, listen, if you sync your account, we'll give you a gun. You know. Do it, watch them buckle, watch their fake principles wither. Oh, no, I don't think so. I think if you did it right now, everybody's really angry. Like... So, I go through this with my children. You know, when they're really, really angry, they'll say no to something that's good for them just because they're so frustrated. So I think, like, collectively, the PC community is, if they're going around high-fiving, thinking they got a W, the last thing you want to do is say, hey, boys, before you're done celebrating there, we do still want you to do this. You know, we're going to give you a weapon if you do it. I think that would be a really, really bad idea right now. I do. I think that would be... I think you would immediately halt the reversal of goodwill and the score. I think that wouldn't go over very well. You do it in 6 months when everything's calmed down, everybody's having fun again. A free unlocked war bond. Yeah, I mean, if you go less extreme, AOZ, I mean, here's what I would say. This is what I would say. I would do it every month. As a reminder, every time we issue a new war bond, all PSN account holders or those who have synced with the PSN account get X, Y, and Z on the war bond. You know, you get page 1 unlocked or something like that, where like every month you're reminding people, hey, we'd really like you to do this. And then they can just say, nope, no thank you. I really do think the wound is fresh. I don't think you even talk about this for 6 months. Stone Spire with another gifted member. This guy's always poking the line. He takes us to 84. If I know Stone Spire, he's probably going to bump it one more to 85. He's hoping for like a 3-5 bomb dunker of 15 to 100. And then I'm going to drop a 20 bomb on you guys. There it is. I can read Stone Spire. I know what he's doing. I know where his head's at. And Philip, with a 5-spot super chat tip, says user identity and data are infinitely more important to Sony, to every Sony. So, of course, they want people's data. Well, I don't think that's unique to Sony, though. Everybody wants your data. Your government wants your data. Do you see what I'm saying? Everybody wants your data, brother. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I don't prefer to get into that debate because the consumers relinquished so much. We've relinquished so much, it's like, why even bother talking about it, right? It feels kind of fruitless. It's like, well, they're going to spy on me. You have an account with Google. Shh. You're on YouTube. You know? If they had the means, they could kick in your door right now. You know, like, hey, don't you leave those mean comments on YouTube. All right, you have a nice day. And then leave. Like, they know where you are. They know what you look like. They know what you think. Like, that's such a, I just, that debate, I don't like having that debate because it's like, how on earth would you turn back the clock? I'm not saying you don't hold against the rising tide of invasive anti-privacy practices, but at the same time, it's like, are you really pure? Like, have you really managed to protect that? Like, I don't think you have. Yeah, whether it's your cell phone or your Echo or any of that other stuff. Lono just made my main point on why I don't get why people are so mad about PSN when there are far worse accounts. Here's the thing, Darth Ascension. I don't think it was this, like, principled, I don't want to give them my info, I don't want to make another account. There are people that think that, yes, Darth. I think the vast majority of the people that responded in a frustrated way to this, I think it was quite literally because they felt like they got bait and switched. Does that make sense? There's a whole spectrum of why people were upset about this. You can't whittle it down to like one of the reasons. You know, oh, I don't want to make another account. Okay, there are some people that think that way. You didn't tell us at the beginning. Like, this is a bait and switch. Like, there's a whole variety of responses to this. I don't think it's all as simple as, oh, we'll watch their principles crumble when they need to make an account for something like Minecraft. And it's like, I don't think that's the issue. I'll say it another way. There are people upset about this right now that would have done it if it was active day one. And I don't think those people are being hypocritical. I don't think they're being hypocritical. I think they would have done it day one. I think they're upset now for different reasons. The concerns about security are disingenuous, says Lobo, but I think it was a terrible idea to sell into unsupported countries and remain lax on account linking policy. That's exactly my take on it, Lobo, is it's like, in light of the mistake, in light of the meteoric rise of the game, in light of the game's popularity and the unique circumstances of why this was turned off and what that inadvertently did, had it being sold in countries that it shouldn't have been, I think in light of all of those circumstances, PlayStation should have said, we're not going to go forward with this. This is a very unforeseen situation, right? Modern times call for modern solutions. Like, they should have said, this is not what we had originally thought would have transpired. It should have been on day one. And the reasons that it wasn't on day one is because it's so popular. It's all this big ball of wax. It's like, because the game's so popular, they turned it off. And because the game grew in popularity, you have a very strong impetus to not do this. I argued that on Friday. I argued with people over the weekend. I was like, what are we doing here? You're just going to let PlayStation change their website and suddenly delist the game in countries? You're just suddenly going to, like, let people not play the game anymore? I mean, oh, great, they get refunds, but that's not good for the game. The people that were celebrating this, y'all just looked weird to me. I was like, y'all look weird. There are people that are literally not going to be able to play the game anymore. It's a live service game. You're out of your head if you think this is some kind of a W. Yeah, suck it, PC Master Race. Ha 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 ha. You sound like the numbskulls that celebrated the Last of Us PC port being bad, and I smacked you then too and said you sounded stupid. Because you do. Why would you celebrate something bad happening to property that you like? That's dumb. There's no other word for it. It's a dumb position. It's motivated by ideology and tribalism, not by thoughtful analysis of the scenario. Last of Us port to PC's bad. Suck it, PC Master Race. You sound like a dumb person to me. Lots of people won't be able to play now, and everybody's angry about this live service game that I love. You sound dumb. You do. You sound like the very thing that I got irritated with on the other side of the aisle. All the stuff that I had to deal with last year, all the green tribalism and all the attacks and all the nastiness. It's like you sound just like that. I don't like it on either side. I think it's gross. It's stupid. It's ignorant. It's not rooted in facts. It's rooted in blind allegiance to something. And to what? Who gives a frick about PlayStation? What you want from PlayStation's value. That's what you should want from them, is value and good games and a fun time. I care about PlayStation being able to enforce something on PC. Why do you care about that? Why are you invested in that? It makes no sense. I was a bit confused about people defending the decision when it means some gamers can't play. Sony fanboys believe the PC features would lead to them pulling back on integration policy. I'm not sure what you mean. I have to schedule this stream with Kirk. Frick. Hang on. You guys are going to hate the next stream, by the way. I'm going to get called an Xbox hater. But I'm going to be defending Xbox and an Xbox title in this next stream. I am. Kirk thinks... We're going to make Kirk the heel today, okay? We're going to make Kirk the heel. He's the bad guy, not me, all right? He thinks that that Avowed is going to be another Redfall. And I don't agree, all right? I have a video on this channel. I thought Avowed in its latest gameplay showcase at the Xbox Direct, I thought it looked better. I still think there are issues, but nothing as glaring as I saw in Redfall in those early looks. And so this is going to be fun, dude. I can't wait to read the comments. You know, look, this guy just hates Xbox. I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be good. You know, and if Kirk ends up being right, we'll let him take a victory lap on the channel. Kirk also thinks that Indiana Jones is going to get Game of the Year nominated. So, you know, he's got some wild takes for y'all, all right? That's another show for another day, though, all right? That's another show. That's another show for another day, you know? Yeah, I'm really trying to win back the Xbox fans today. That's what I'm doing. You know, I'm being critical of Sony, and now I'm going to defend Avowed. I just, you know, I'm really changing course. You know what it is? I tell you what it is. You know, people that are like, I can't believe Reforge Gaming is getting this one right. Well, all that is insecurity and arrogance to think that when I finally agree with your position, I've somehow landed on the right position. Do you know what I mean? That's just arrogance and insecurity. By the way, if you guys want to scramble really, really quickly while I get this stream set up, I'll drop a 20 bomb, all right? 15 more members. We just need 3 people to drop a 5 bomb. Let's hit 100. I'll drop the 20 bomb, and then we'll go to this show with Kirk. Let me get him on the line. There he is.
Literally just bring me in to like help your PR image today.
I hate that you've figured out my strategy already. You know, you weren't supposed to figure this out. I have to change our framing here. Hang on. I have to change our framing. I got a new image from Creature for this show. You dislike me very much today? Hey, JC, that's okay. That's okay. It wouldn't be a fun channel to support if you never, ever had anything to disagree with me about, you know? You got to feel. Oops, that's not the right one. Hang on, let me minimize that, and then let me go here. And then
mediocre. That's rough, bro. That's rough.
Turn you down just a touch.
I'd like to get a new camera, but I think Lono would have my butt because he wants me to get a new mic first.
I actually don't know if I feel that strongly about it, because I do think the mic you currently have is not nearly as bad as most. Like, if you sat there with like an Astro headset, we'd be having a different conversation.
Yeah, no, I did a bunch of research. I was like, I was like, basically, like, if you can't tell, this is in my very small. It's the smallest thing that it could be without being a studio apartment, and so like I don't know where I'm gonna put like a mic boom and a mic at. I don't really use a desk. I've got like a setup that's kind of makeshift. So I was like, I need a headset, and so I did a bunch of research into like what is the headset that's gonna make me sound the most like I have an actual mic, and this is what I ended up with. So maybe I will get a camera, boys. But
is this the guy with the skill issue in hard games? Yeah.
I'm literally dunking on Stellar Blade bosses in hard mode. So whatever.
Well, no. See, that's how you leverage it. Leverage it for content. Be like, guys, like you should even just ham it up. Upload a video being like, I just think these games are too hard, and you just cut to footage of you just thrashing a boss. I obviously have skill issues in these games.
Just not that type of content creator.
No, I know.
Speaking of which, I'm going to be going live today on Twitch. I am taking Creature's advice as far as the Twitch branding goes, so it's just Kirk the Gamer. Twitch.tv/Kirk the Gamer. Going to be going live at 6 p.m. today. So after Writer's Room, if you get your din in your belly and want to come hang out, we're going to be doing like an indie spotlight of a couple different games that have come out recently.
Come on my show and you're going to self-promote? I'm just kidding. What if I was like that? I was like, you're not allowed to do that. Don't talk. Don't talk until I ask you to talk.
Only members for me.
We should have totally planned to like ham that up. You know what I mean?
We should have done like our own version of like the Drake Kendrick thing or something.
Yeah. Make it really awkward.
Like very white nerdy gamer commentator version of that somehow.
Be like, bro, I told you, bro. I told you not to do that. We talked about this. Okay, what's the name of the thing that they did, the direct? It's a deep dive. Okay, cool.
What is it, the shirt? You don't want to work with me no more? Okay.
Oh, no. This isn't it. Shoot, that's not what I want. Extended. They did something at the direct. It wasn't the extended gameplay. It's something else. It's, oh, here it is. I got it. The deep dive from the developer direct. I don't want him I had him like sitting on a couch and like doing a podcast or something. I don't mind a little bit of B-roll.
You gonna play the direct footage in the background?
Trailer and the direct? Yes.
Okay. Well, then I win. You're gonna be talking over the footage.
Mm-hmm. He's so quick to claim victory, chat.
First of all, you're setting me up to fail with this framing. There's no way this game is as bad as Redfall. Like, it's not happening. That's a really good clickbait title.
Well, I think the point though is that as long as you don't become too keenly aware of my goals to just make you fail and prop myself up. Like if you don't get too tuned into that, I think this relationship can just really continue.
It can take off, you know.
Oh gosh. Okay, chat. Okay, we're obviously kidding around. I think the fun of having Mike on the show or Kirk on the show is to have very, very different opinions. And so we even have a
I just can't believe you're gonna go to bat for this game, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, we'll see how far I'll go. But
I feel much more comfortable taking the stance that I'm taking. Like I feel like you're exposing yourself way more than I am. by professing that it's going to be good in any capacity.
Oh, thank you guys. Yep, I got the wrong slide here for this scene. I got the right slide for the other scene. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Appreciate that, Sven. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
nice. Yeah, I had nice.
So,
can you imagine if we just went the whole live?
I did that with somebody a long time ago. We got like 20
funny
minutes
if Mike came in the chat and he would have been like, "Hey, that's not me."
And you're like, yes, I am. You know, I am now. It says it on the screen.
I wish I could do a good Mike impression. He sounds a little bit like ACG.
I don't know if Mike sounds like anybody to me. He sounds like Mike.
Well, they have like that short staccato style when they talk.
Oh, right.
They talk like this.
Okay, chat. Here's the deal. I'm gonna quickly take
about Fallout. It's just if you've played a Fallout game before, that's as good as I can do.
I'm gonna quickly take a break, stretch my legs, use the restroom. I owe you guys 15 members. We're super close to hitting the 100, and then I'll owe you 20. And if you guys keep going like this, like we'll have to do the Moog stretch goal. Right now, you guys are well on your way. So I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Keep smashing the like button, by the way, on this video. Let's actually shoot for 500 likes before we shift gears, and I bet you we could do it because there's still over 550 people here. We only need like 70 of you to smash like, okay? Take a second and double check that it saved your like. Hit subscribe, hit the bell button. Stick around for the discussion. Is Avowed another Redfall? I'll be right back.
BBL Drizzy. 13 just started gamer. You know what? I don't need to dignify that with a response. No, I did not. I did not eat Chick-fil-A this morning. What's good, kicking it with Timmy B? Is Hellblade 2 another Redfall? No, I think Hellblade 2 is just going to be another Hellblade, which a lot of people are going to be disappointed in because they don't want another Hellblade. They want a God of War on Xbox. Lono wants another Hellblade, but... No, I don't have my good bullet points ready, Victor. He's going to be playing the footage in the background. Like, that's pretty much all we need. Like he's going to have the footage in the background, talking over it, trying to claim that this game is going to be good. Which is going to be really entertaining in about 5 months or whenever this game comes out. I hope it gets delayed, honestly. Assume Parasite, the final boss was not hard for me. It was the penultimate boss. Is it a I wonder if you're not at the final boss. But maybe you are. But the one before that was way harder to me. I do like Outer Worlds. I don't think this game looks as good as Outer Worlds. We'll get into that though. Avowed's not going to be another Redfall though. I just don't think it's going to be a pattern in terms of Xbox not really delivering on anything that's like blockbuster, like any genuine wins for them. Yes, Obsidian is making Avowed. Interesting, Eugene. I don't know which games I would think. Yeah, Jareth, that's one of my main arguments is that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 looks way better. Way better. Honestly, I'd rather play Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 than Avowed.
Okay.
I was on a yacht this weekend. Let him gather his thoughts. If you take one look at my complexion, you'll know I wasn't on a yacht this weekend. Lono, did you get some sun? You were out grilling, right?
Yeah, teeny bit. I mean, we grilled, we ate outside, we watched the Derby.
By the way, what about that finish, dude? Came down the wire.
I think that's one of the closest I've ever seen. You know, I've lived here for 22 years. I think that's one of the closest I've ever seen.
It's cool when that happens. A lot of times you'll see like one of them just kind of breaks away on the final straightaway.
Yeah, my favorite is when somebody wins that was back a ways. That's my favorite.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah.
That's the best. Or like the year where a horse got injured and the late edition that had no odds of winning won. Like that's also my favorite. Where'd you get that shirt? Love it. This was just from the PlayStation Store. And it was back ordered for like 2 months. So like serendipitously it showed up just in time for me to do a great blazing hot Helldivers show.
My impeccably pressed polo. I appreciate that.
All right, guys. You might want to give it that tug down though. It's kind of
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's doing that bunch up thing. That's why I always hate wearing non-black shirts, because like if it gets ruffled or like isn't sitting properly, I'm always pulling down on my white shirts.
It's the couch effect also. Like proper chair.
I don't think it's possible to sit up straight on a couch. Like I just always end up slowly
I
slouching.
always have a pillow behind me to kind of prop myself up. Straight.
All right, guys. Yeah, the Picard maneuver. Yeah, the tug down. All right, guys, there's a link in chat. That's where we're headed. Make sure when you get over there to smash the like button. We were trying to have a final scramble here to 500 likes. That's okay if a lot of you are lurking and haven't done that. Just do that before we leave. You can click the link in chat, or you can ride the redirect, which, hang on, I don't know if I've set up redirect. Oh, I have. Okay, here we go. Thanks so much for checking out this video where every week I sit down with my man Kirk from What's New Video Games, and if you're going to run to the comments and be really angry, point it to him. This was his statement that he thought Avowed was going to be another Redfall. Now, he doesn't mean that extreme, but he does think it's going to be potentially another disappointing game. I'll let him voice his opinion. I actually have seen marked improvement, and I do have some feedback and some criticism of the game that I would like to see changed at launch, but I do think the game has started to look better. So be sure to hit subscribe, be sure to hit the bell button, like button, all those things. Leave a comment below. I'm going to end the previous stream. I was red hot about the Helldivers situation and glad that they rectified it, so be sure to check that out. Check out my upload on that, where you'll see the big giant yellow word stupid